Hey there, welcome to Product Marketing Maestros, Tales from the Front Lines. I'm your host, Nitin Kartik. As the author of the Amazon bestseller Product Marketing Wisdom, I've always found that real-world case studies are the true litmus test for the effectiveness of any product marketing strategy. And that is why on this show, we dive into the minds of industry titans, as well as rising stars, unpacking their expertise in action-packed episodes that showcase the power of product marketing through real-world case studies. And today, my friends, we are joined by product marketing maestro, Katie Miller. Katie is a seasoned developer marketing and product leader with over 15 years of experience spanning Google, Slack, and Asana. She specializes in building scalable programs, go-to-market strategies, and engaging event experiences that drive product adoption and brand loyalty. As a former director of developer marketing at Slack and a Google lead for Google Cloud developer events, Katie brings deep expertise in developer relations, audience insights, and cross-functional execution. She serves on the Developer Relations Foundation Steering Committee, and she chairs the Board of Trustees at Keys School. Katie holds degrees from Hamilton College, Stanford University, and executive training from the Wharton School. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Katie Miller. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so humbled by that introduction. It reminds me of the long and winding path that I've actually taken to get to this stage. It was not linear in any way, shape, or form. Some other fun facts about me: I actually started my professional career in dental school admissions and life coaching. And before I dove deep on product marketing and developer marketing leadership, actually cut my teeth in tech in the ad tech space. So I'm always grateful for opportunities like this that are really about paying it forward to my peers, to aspiring marketers. I like to be honest and say I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so when I have the chance to share glows and grows from my own experiences, I'm so, so happy to do so.
Absolutely fabulous. Love it, Katie. Wonderful. So we're super excited to have you here. And as promised, we will give the audience a situation from your experience. And Katie, we'll use the ABC framework. So we'll talk about the antecedents, what were the prior challenges. We'll talk about the behaviors, what were some of the actions that you took. And we'll talk about the conclusion, how things played out. So with that, Katie, pick a situation from your experience and tell us what were the antecedents, what were the prior challenges?
Yeah. I love this framework, by the way. In all of my years, this is a new one. So I love that I'm actually learning through this podcast as much as I'm sharing my own experiences. And I think what I really appreciate is it shifts us out of that mindset of simply acting and doing in a challenging situation and really thinking about strategy and influencing behavior. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So as we were chatting and preparing, I threw out a couple of different examples and I said, what about color changes in product? And you're like, I think that sounds like a good one. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And this was truthfully, if we're talking about challenges, this is a launch that we went into and knew was probably going to be bumpy. Color change may sound simple and straightforward. The company had previously revised the brand palette, and so thoughtfully so wanted to bring all of the surfaces, the product surfaces, the marketing surfaces, and so forth, in line with this unified color scheme. And now, as a human, think about like those moments when something. Oh, did I freeze there? I didn't freeze there. Okay, we're gonna
Oh,
edit that part out. So we're
yeah,
gonna
we're going to take
start
that out.
that.
By the way, yeah,
Did you
no
hear
problem. In
me?
fact, one quick thing. Yeah, are you able to hear me, Katie?
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that's good about this platform is it records your video in your computer, your browser, my video in my browser. So if there are any glitches, the final video actually looks awesome. So no problem, we'll take all this blooper out, no problem. But yeah, don't worry. If it glitches again, it's going to look awesome. The video is stored in your browser and uploaded, so it's going to look awesome. But anyway, so yeah, you can just pause, find your spot, and then continue. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. I also closed those other things. So I'm going to kind of back up a little bit. So, color changes may sound simple and straightforward. We had revised our brand palette the previous year, and we wanted to bring all of our surfaces, our marketing surfaces, our product in line with this unified color scheme. Now, think about how you felt, listeners, viewers, when something you love changed. Opinions on soda, food products, for me as a runner, when my running shoes change, and so forth. Essentially, any tweak to a beloved product, we don't feel good. We're creatures of habit, and so we don't like change, even if that change doesn't necessarily affect the user experience. And yet these changes happen and we need to address them. So that's kind of the scenario that we're in. So we knew that this was going to be a spicy change and thoughtfully did an early rollout to trusted testers in the community. The feedback was like that. Not only the general friction of change, which I acknowledged, but we actually surfaced issues of usability, including color contrast for accessibility. So, to your question about the antecedents, the challenges that we faced were, do we continue with the launch as planned? And if so, how do we stay firm on our decisions while maintaining that user trust and satisfaction? And if we act on the feedback, what is it that we need to address and how it affects the timeline for launch? And the reason that these feel like canonical challenges to share in a podcast like this are, first, sometimes as businesses, we need to make tough choices, whether it's raising prices, changing features that inevitably ruffle feathers. And yet, what's often worse is when we waver on those decisions. So I think that there's something really important to be said about making a hard decision and standing firm on that decision. And the second is a wise friend once said, and I can't give credit to her, I think she's paying this quote forward, that feedback is a gift and feedback comes with a gift receipt, which means, in other words, while it's necessary to ingest all of that user feedback and allow users to feel heard, it's also necessary to understand what's in our control, what is beyond our control, what is a squeaky wheel versus a widespread pattern, and how does it actually rank in terms of company priorities? I mean, if we acted on every piece of feedback that came in immediately and urgently, we would never get anything done. And so there's wisdom in understanding what of those gifts we accept and what of those gifts we return. So hopefully that sets the stage clearly for the antecedent or challenge space that this example is living in.
Wonderful. Absolutely fabulous. I love that, Katie. In fact, I like how you pointed out that if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority, right? So we got to choose. Excellent. So I love that. So thank you, Katie, for setting up the antecedents. Now, Katie, tell us about the behaviors, right? Given these challenges, how did that guide your actions that you took?
Exactly. So, as mentioned, one of the things that we needed to consider is whether or not we would actually make these changes before the full rollout. And if so, what were the changes that we would make? And what did those mean for engineering cycles, marketing communications, and so on? So, what we did is we categorized the feedback into various buckets of, say, general dislike of the color palette to I can no longer read your product. And our actions were really guided by the frequency of the comments, as well as whether the buckets were about usability and accessibility versus general preference. The second behavior really came from the feedback from internal teams, who this is our community team, services, sales, who felt that even though we gave them a heads up that this change was coming, that they were really ill-equipped with the FAQ that was provided and the anticipated volume of feedback to actually properly address all of the inbound comments, even from a slow rollout. So we're like, okay, like this is something that isn't just affecting the user experience, this is actually affecting internal systems, processes, and workflows. So, in addition to weighing the business priorities, engineering and marketing bandwidth, and critical user feedback, we also needed to account for and take action on the impact of a full rollout on sales, services, and community teams. So, before we get to the conclusion, the behaviors that this challenge really influenced were everything from what the engineering team was or was not going to fix, what communications marketing was or was not going to address, and then how we communicated all of those things across the internal business to make sure that we had that buy-in.
Beautiful. Look at that. You had these challenges and you took these systematic actions. I love it. So now I think we're all waiting for the suspense, Katie. So bring it home. So tell us about the conclusion. How did this play out for you?
That is a great way to kind of go into the final part of the case study. So ultimately, we did recognize from the volume of feedback around usability and accessibility, particularly because as a company, we were actually in the early stages of building out a more robust accessibility strategy. It felt right for us to acknowledge that we could do better here. And so we did make some tweaks to the colors that were going to improve accessibility for folks who were having difficulty. So there are some standards around color contrast. And so what we did is we actually did review those and did choose to delay the full rollout a couple of weeks so that we could address those. However, we didn't scrap the full color palette. We simply accepted and acknowledged that this is what we are doing and knew that there would be a period of transition and some grumblings associated with that color preference. The second outcome was we co-created a strategy and got buy-in from sales and support and community to really make sure that we could triage and address the feedback, even thinking about the day of the launch, the time of the launch, the type of staffing that would be available to address all of these things, more thorough FAQs and talking points, and really making sure that the rollout happened at a pace that they could adequately respond to any inbound questions. And so we did roll out the color change with some modifications and with a much better plan for how to address the incoming feedback. And so when I summarize what this case study is really about to me is learning quickly from missteps, owning when something could have been done better, and making those thoughtful changes quickly. The second is accepting that sometimes we as businesses are going to make hard decisions. And when we do, how important it is to be firm and consistent, knowing there will be friction. It's much better to be clear and direct and for people to just manage through that than to be wishy-washy and for people to say, like, what's happening here? I don't understand. I have even more questions than I started with. The third is the importance of that internal cross-functional alignment and strategy co-creation and over communication up front. We thought we had ticked all of those planning boxes and we hadn't. And then finally, again, that acceptance that humans do not like change. And so any decision, even as the most amazing one, is going to cause friction. So we, as those product marketing managers, especially responsible for go-to-market strategy, being integrally involved in thinking about what that outbound strategy is, users are going to need to go through a change management journey. And so what we need to do is the best that we can to support them through those any possible moments of friction.
Look at that. Brilliant. See, we had these challenges, you came up with the actions, and, we had some learnings, and some things worked well, some things didn't work well. I love that. I think the audience can learn so much from this case study, Katie. So thank you for sharing that. Now, Katie, if people wanted to learn more about you and what's next for you, where can they do that?
At the moment, I am most active on LinkedIn. My handle is KMILL Runner. So that's KMill Runner. I am active in various Slack and Discord communities, the Product Marketing Alliance, the Developer Relations Foundation Discord, as well as the Dev-MKT Slack channel. I have a bit of an anemic Substack at Katie Miller Runs. I'd love for you to read my past stuff and let me know what you think. Ultimately, I love nerding out on developer and product marketing, particularly in mentoring and advising teams and individuals for professional growth, organizational success, and business impact. Also nerding out on running, all things Jane Austen, Taylor Swift, cats, and finding ways to explain the world through pop culture. So that's just a little bit about me.
So wonderful. Absolutely fabulous, folks. There you have it. So thank you, Katie. Folks, please reach out to Katie. And for even more insights, check out my Amazon bestseller, Product Marketing Wisdom, at productmarketingwisdom.com. And see you next time on Product Marketing Maestros.